Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter Podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter Show, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorta, and I'm here with my co-host, Joe Habib. And we have a great show for you today. And as always, if you want to call in and ask questions, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857. And we're going to be here till 9 o'clock tonight. So if you guys want to call in, make sure you do it early. And today, we're going to talk about Canelo versus Kovalev is finally set, and we'll tell you all the details later on. Golden Boy and Ryan Garcia are at odds again, and we'll tell you all about it. But first, we get started with the fights this weekend. ESPN Plus, Tyson Fury versus Otto Walin, 12 rounds for the lineal heavyweight title. Lineal, I guess. Tyson Fury retains his lineal title and wins the Mayan belt, by the way, by unanimous decision by the scores of 116-112, 117-111, and 118-110. In the third round, Wallen connected with a left hook that opened up a huge cut. I mean, a huge cut over the right eye of Tyson Fury. It was a bad cut, and it looked like the fight could actually be stopped. I mean, it was a long cut, went across the brow, clearly disrupted his vision and everything like that. It was bad. All that aside, the fight was actually pretty one-sided. I had Fury clearly winning this fight. I had it at 118-110. The only question was, like, would the fight be stopped? And at every round, we had the doctor look like he was going in there, or somebody from the commission was going in there to check and make sure that, hey, this was, this cut was going to, he could go on with this cut. Because it was pretty bad. And at any point, man, if that thing gets deeper or anything like that, they could have stopped it. Now, Tyson Fury's cut man, did a great job because this cut happened in the third round. He was able to finish the fight. The cut, to me, looked the same as it did when it in the 12th round as it did in the third. So, I mean, they did a good job in that corner, man. And I don't know how many stitches he needed or anything like that, but yeah, man, it was interesting. I think the cut, honestly, was a curse and a blessing for Wallen. Wallen was going to the body early, and once Fury was cut, he was told to start targeting the cut. This kind of took away focus from Fury's body and made Wallen seem a little bit more one-dimensional in his attack, man. I thought he had a good game plan going on, but, it's kind of like getting that knockdown. You knock somebody down, and then you kind of fall in love with your power and everything like that, and that's kind of all you do. That's kind of all you focus on and everything like that. Beeb, what were your thoughts on this fight? And, what were your thoughts on Tyson Fury?
Well, I have to say definitely Otto Walin did a lot better than I expected and most people expected. But with that being said, I still thought it was a one-sided fight on the scorecards. I gave Wallen the first round and I gave him the 12th round. And arguably you may have been able to give him the fourth, but I didn't. But with that being said, I think Tyson Fury came out with an intention that he was going to go some rounds. I thought he wanted to box from the outside, pot shot from the outside, and, just work on tweaking a few things. Kind of not going into this fight with the same mentality and the same purpose and the same game plan that he did for the Schwartz fight. I think he wanted to make a statement in the Schwartz fight. I think he wanted to blow him out. In this fight, I think he wanted to go some rounds, just work on some things a little bit, sharpen up his tools a little bit. But, when he did get hit with that punch, but, I'm not sure if the punch caused it or maybe Wallen possibly laced him a little bit after that punch. I'm not quite sure because when I watched the replay, I see the punch landed. It didn't appear to be a particularly hard punch. Tyson Fury didn't seem to buckle, or his head didn't jar back, or he didn't feel as though he was stunned or look like he was stunned at all. But after the punch landed, you saw Wallen, his the laces of his gloves kind of did go up on Fury's face, and blood did not come out of that eye for a while. So, it was kind of a bizarre thing. And then throughout the fight, we saw him try to lace Fury some more, kind of going there with his head. But you know what? The guy came to win. The guy was gritty, and I admired, the attitude that he brought into the ring last night, that I'm going to win, and I'm going to win at all costs. And I know the broadcast team did mention about, his father passing away recently, and I'm sure that he did draw some motivation off of that. But, he had a great game plan. He was able to sneak that looping left hand around the guard on Tyson Fury a few times. It was kind of an awkward looping shot that he was able to sneak in there and land pretty good against Tyson Fury. And even in the 12th round, he landed it and got Tyson Fury's attention. And Tyson Fury had to hold on. And he was hurt in that 12th round without question. But he did, rally back and was able to hold on and finish out the round. But I think Tyson Fury, like I said, had the intention to come out and box and use the perimeter a little bit, and try to pick Wallen apart from the outside. But once that cut occurred, obviously the game plan had to change. So I admire Tyson Fury for realizing that, I have to change things up. That's a bad cut. I can't leave anything to chance here. So he took the fight to the inside and started going to Wallen's body. And started throwing uppercuts on the inside, and again, showing the versatility of a highly skilled fighter, being 6'9" with those long arms and that long 82-inch reach, and being able to shorten up those shots on the inside and land those crisp, uppercuts and short hooks on the inside. And he went to the body, outstandingly in the fight. So I thought Tyson Fury showed us a lot as well, being able to switch things up. Go to the plan B when the cut occurred. He had to dig down deep because, it was a lot at stake in this fight. Because obviously if you don't get past this fight, there's no Deontay Wilder and there's no Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz Jr. winner down the road. So this was a banana skin fight, so to speak, where this was could have been a slip up in this fight. And that, as you said, the fight very well could have been stopped because that gash was horrible. It was a real bad gash. It was close to that Vitali Klitschko Lennox Lewis cut. That cut eye that Vitali suffered in the Lennox Lewis fight. It wasn't quite as bad as that, but it was close. It was close. And Wallen was making it worse by putting his hand in there, rubbing it, lacing it up, sticking his head in there. Again, the guy had a lot of grit to him. He wanted to win at all costs. I love the tenacity that he bring into the ring last night. Full credit to Wallen. I only had him winning 2 rounds on my card, but he came to win. You could see the determination, just the focus. And when we talk about fire, that's what I mean when I talk about fire. This guy wanted to win and wanted to win badly. He wasn't trying to accept defeat. When we talked about the Joshua Ruiz fight last week, the press conferences and everything, and just the demeanor of Joshua, I made a statement that I'm sure he doesn't like to lose, but he doesn't hate to lose. He has a different mentality. Both what you saw last night was a guy in Tyson Fury that had a horrible gash, and a lot of guys would have buckled under the pressure of having to deal with that eye like that, and a lot of guys wouldn't have been able to keep their composure and be able to maintain their focus and come up with a plan B when something like that happens. But Tyson Fury, again, this is a guy I believe that hates to lose. Okay, Wallen is a guy that I believe hates to lose. And you saw when two guys, are in the ring that hate to lose, there was no quit in either one of those guys last night. And Wallen got hit with some shots where a lot of other fighters would have said, maybe I'm going to bow out. I'm going to bow out here. Maybe I'm going to, there's no way I can win this fight. I don't want to keep taking these shots. maybe I'll sneak out the back door. But he didn't. And Tyson Fury could have folded under the pressure of having to deal with that eye, all that blood in his eye. He could have, gotten frustrated and got flustered, and he could have, could have thrown everything out the window. The whole game plan could have went out the window, but it didn't. So this is what I mean about, hating to lose, having that fire inside you. And Deontay Wilder has that same fire inside him. So this is the difference between, Fury, Wilder, and even Otto Walin to some degree, because his stock goes up after this performance, regardless of whether he won or lost, his stock still goes up because, he came to win, and everyone that watched this fight realized that, and they admired his grit and his determination, and what he was able to bring to the table last night was more than what I expected and what most people expected. So this was a win for both guys last night, in my opinion, to some degree. Not so much Tyson Fury. I mean, I don't think his stock goes up after this fight, but I don't think it goes down either. I think it kind of just stays where it was at. But my whole problem with this whole situation with Fury, not to get off track here, is beating Otto Walin and beating Tom Schwartz. What does that do for you in terms of enhancing your profile to the American public? What does that do, in terms of making this potential Deontay Wilder rematch bigger? I just don't understand what the game plan was. And now you got that cut eye, and who knows if that fight even comes off now. I highly suspect, and I agree with Andre Ward, that this fight does not happen in February. So Deontay Wilder may get his wish here, and he may be able to get the winner of that Andy Ruiz Anthony Joshua fight, because I don't think as bad, the gash was horrible. I don't think Fury's going to be ready by February. I really don't.
I don't know that he will either, to be honest with you, man.
So this is why, you don't map out your future, when there's a big fight on the horizon. Like Bob Arum should have learned his lesson from the Gamboa Juanma Lopez situation, where that fight was supposed to happen and he kept putting it off and letting it marinate. And what happened? Juanma Lopez lost to Orlando Salido twice, and that fight never happened between Lopez and Gamboa. So, this is what happens, and you could see how frustrated and just the scowl that Arum had on his face. He did not look happy at the post-fight press conference. He did not look happy because I think he knows that this Wilder fight is out the window. And I'm curious to see it, what the contract states now. Does it mean that Wilder had to fight Fury on February? But so now if that date is scrapped, can Wilder go and fight someone else now? Or does that mean he has to fight Fury immediately next, regardless? Does he have to wait for Fury? I kind of suspect that, he was locked down for February, and now that February fight can't happen, possibly, then he may not have to fight Fury next. And he could go and fight somebody else. And he can go and fight the Joshua Ruiz winner. So this was kind of a blessing in disguise, I think, for Wilder, because in my opinion, the bigger fight would be the winner of Ruiz versus Joshua. And then he'll be unified. And then when he goes in to fight Fury, he'll have all the belts. And then the fight will be bigger. And then he can argue that I'm going to get more money now because I have all the belts. The same argument that Joshua has used so often when he had all the belts. So, I think that I was critical of the whole situation with Fury fighting these types of opponents, and now look what happens. You put the bigger fights that you had in front of you now in jeopardy, because like we said before, anything can happen. You can break a hand, you can suffer a cut eye like you did yesterday. So now, what happens now? All these other guys are not going to sit around and wait for Fury now, right? So now the big fights are going to be put longer on the back burner. They're going to be put off longer and be on the back burner for even a longer period of time now. So now this just turns out to be a horror story for Tyson Fury, in my opinion.
I agree. But, honestly, if Ruiz wins that second fight with Joshua, Deontay Wilder is taking that fight next, no matter what. I mean, I don't care if there's a so-called contract in place, whatever. that fight's happening next because it's two PBC guys at that point. Dwayne M had an interesting question. He says, do you think Fury fights up or down to the level of his competition, or was Wallen that good? Not to mention that cut was a factor too. Maybe I'm missing something here. I mean, listen, it was competitive. I get it, to a point. He was cut. And that was the big factor in the fight. He was cut. But this fight, we both had it 118 to 110. This was not a...
Yeah.
It wasn't like... Once this goes to the scorecards, he's never in trouble. The only drama this really had was, would that cut stop? You know? And once he changed up his style, that was it. And I thought he got, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, finish. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that I thought that he got really bad advice from Joey Gamache in that corner by targeting, because his instructions were to target that cut. Whereas before, he was going after the body in the first few rounds. He was going after the body, shooting at the chest and everything like that, because it's hard to hit Fury flush. And then they said start targeting that cut, and I understand it. But I think that got them away from their game plan, and I think it was just kind of downhill for them at that point. But, just my opinion on it.
Well, we don't even know if that cut was caused by the lacing of the gloves, and there was two cuts, and the other cut could have been caused by a head, but it was just so hard to tell, to be perfectly honest with you. So, and even the punch that landed, it wasn't a hard punch. It didn't look like it didn't, like it stunned, or it was like Fury took it like it was nothing. It wasn't like it was a hard punch. Like the punch in the 12th round that didn't cause any cuts or anything, that was a much harder punch than that punch that caused the cut. And even if it was the punch that caused the cut, because go back and watch, you see his glove go like this afterwards. It goes like this afterwards, after he lands the punch. Go back and watch it. So it could have been the lacing that caused the cut. I don't know. I'm not saying it did or not saying it didn't, but it's possible. And then the other cut could have been from a headbutt, because I did see, Wallen hit him, go up like that and rub his head in that area a few times. But again, I'm not here to make excuses for Fury, because it's a fight. It's a fight. You do what you got to do, and Wallen was overmatched. It wasn't like he was going to outbox Fury, so he had to get gritty. He had to get down and dirty in there. So I'm not going to criticize Wallen too much here, because he came to win. That's the attitude that you have. When you want to win, you'll do whatever you have to do to win. He actually did do some good things that were legitimate. So we're not going to let a few of the other things overshadow the good things that he did. We don't want to take that away from him, because he was landing that left hand on occasion, pretty good. He landed a great one in the 12th round. And we can't forget about how he was able to get inside and force Tyson Fury to hold a few times. And he pushed the pace, and he made Tyson Fury fight. He didn't allow Tyson Fury to relax on the outside and just sit back and pot shot. He took it to Tyson Fury, and he made Tyson Fury fight. And Tyson Fury did fight. And that's the thing. Like, when you have a guy like Fury who can do both, that's a great asset. Because some guys can't do both. Like, he can box and he can fight. There's a lot of guys that can't do both. And he showed you both last night. So credit to him. And he wasn't even able to go southpaw at all, because obviously the eye was damaged, and he's not going to put that eye out in the front in the southpaw stance. So he couldn't even show you his total package last night. But again, that was 10 rounds to 2 on my card.
Yeah, it was, and that's the thing. I mean, like I said, the big point of drama was the cut in the 3rd round, and you were kind of like, hey, can he finish the fight with this cut? His cut man did a great job, I thought, in the as good as he can, because like I said, man, I don't know how many stitches he needed, but I know he needed some. But that being said, man, it was a wide fight. It wasn't like, I see some people. I was reading some people, comments and everything earlier. Fury was exposed, this and that. I mean, this was a 10-2 fight.
Exposed?
Yeah, he was exposed,
Because he got cut?
I guess, and then they said, did somebody in the chat said, is this a blueprint for maybe this is a blueprint for beating it? I'm like, it was 10-2, guys. It was 10-2.
I don't understand it.
I don't either, man.
Fight. If you want to be generous, maybe 9-3, but
Maybe.
But
Maybe. I thought the 116, 112, though, I don't know where they were coming
yeah,
from.
that was, I don't know.
Yeah, it's insane, man. So, yeah.
You know, people are talking about the ESPN crew going to bed Davidson's corner job, his name Bernardo Osuna. And I'm going to tell you that the whole network had a lot at stake here because, you know, everybody wins at that network if Tyson Fury wins. See what I'm saying? Like, he's the meal ticket for a lot of people over there. And they want nothing more than to be involved in an event where Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder are fighting each other. Because that's good business, and that's good for the network, and that's good for them because they work for the network, right? So it behooves them to be involved in big fights over at their network. So, of course, they're home team over there for Fury. There's no question about it.
But I don't think...
go over there and tell him. Make sure you go over there and tell him, Bernardo, that was from a punch, not a headbutt. Make sure he knows. Make sure they know over there.
Go and tell him, Bernardo. Go tell him. Tell him it was from punch.
That was hilarious. That was fucking hilarious.
Tommy Boxeo says, I don't think the ESPN crew were supposed to go and do that, get involved like that.
He is supposed to know,
I don't think it was a big deal. I don't think it was a big deal.
The ref's supposed to tell him anyways. He has to know. He has to be informed that was from a punch and not a headbutt. That's
and I think
fair.
Ben Davidson knew. I think Ben Davidson knew that it was. I think he was when he said in the corner, "Oh no, it was from a headbutt or something like that." And he was like, "No, it's from a punch." He was like, "Yeah, whatever, you know." I think he absolutely.
Centurion's film says, "Why are we not in a Mexican costume?" I'm trying to buy a sombrero on Amazon.
I'm gonna send you one. I got one. I got two, in fact. We could both wear one.
I want to wear it for the Ruiz fight because I'm gonna be Team Ruiz when Ruiz fights Joshua.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, we're totally wearing that. I am too.
I like Ruiz.
You know, I'm picking Joshua to win that second fight. That being said, I'm pulling for Ruiz just like I did in the first one.
I'm going back and forth, but right now I'm leaning towards Ruiz.
I would love nothing more than to see him pull it off again. I think that would be great. I think that's good for the sport too, because I don't think Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua want to fight Wilder. I really don't. I don't think they want to fight him. So,
I'm going to be wearing it Centurion's son during the fight because I want to support Ruiz.
Yeah,
when I do my live cast for Ruiz Joshua, if Eric wants to join me too, we can both wear sombreros.
Yeah, we'll definitely both wear sombreros for that one. Tommy Boxeo said, "Where's the tequila? It's Mexican Independence Day weekend. It's upstairs, buddy. I got it. Don't you worry about it." We were talking about the ESPN announcers, and I hate Mark Kriegel. I don't.
Oh, he's horrible.
He's so terrible, right?
He's so bad.
He's awful. So bad. He is awful, man. Did you see Mark Kriegel ask Joey Gamache, Otto Wallin's trainer, that if Otto Walin wins, would it erase the Arturo Gatti fight for Gamache? That was the fight he was knocked out, like brutally knocked out. What kind of question was that, man? I mean, really, like what? He said, you know, what would this do? Would this kind of take away some of the sting of your fight with Arturo Gatti? What kind of question is that?
Is that stupid? And then,
That's
and then
the
they had,
dumbest.
Then they had this whole big piece on Cutman after the fight. That was so corny, dude.
The guy is really cool. And Tim Bradley. What about Tim Bradley last night? He's another one. We had Tim Bradley, you know, doing his normal lousy job, calling fighters soft, etc., saying that he said Emmanuel Navarrete, who won in the fourth round by KO, by knockout or whatever, by TKO, said that Navarrete looked flat and disinterested in the fight.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Really? That was flat and disinterested, huh?
You know, if they didn't have Andre Ward there to check Tim Bradley, man, that broadcast would just go.
Oh my God! What a train wreck
over there. Like if you didn't have Andre Ward over there, to kind of like guide the ship in the right direction, that would be a horror show over there.
Yeah, I agree, man. It was Tim Bradley and Mark Kriegel. They've just got to gut that entire cast. Except Andre Ward. I like Andre Ward.
Andre Ward You know what's so crazy?
He's always respectful of the fighters. You know what I mean? He never downgrades.
But he's very
nothing,
insightful
man.
too, and and you know what the thing about Ward is, when he criticizes, he does it in such a classy way. Like he's just he really epitomizes the term constructive criticism, because that's exactly what he does.
Absolutely.
You know,
and I never hear him bash anybody or anything like that.
And when he interjects, sometimes it's aggravating, like when fighters talk about themselves a lot during the broadcast. Mm-hmm. But when he does it, it's applicable. It fits, and he doesn't do it in a boisterous way either. You know, I love Paulie Malignaggi, and for a long time he was like right there as one of my favorite announcers, him and Al Bernstein. But I'm telling you, Andre Ward's starting to push up to that top spot, and right now he may be at the top spot for me as far as my favorite announcers go. I really like him.
Yeah. John Doe says, "Did you guys hear Peter Fury's controversial quotes after the fight?" I did.
What did he say?
Okay, so Peter Fury, Tyson Fury's father, said that basically, he said after a performance like that, we're going to gut the entire team, Ben Davidson, everybody. He said he was not happy with it. I don't think he would say, but you're catching him right after the fight, where his son gets cut. He's got this big cut or whatever. He's just been in a tough fight.
Isn't Peter Fury the uncle and John's the father?
I thought it was John Fury who said this. Maybe it was Peter Fury.
No.
One of them were interviewed. One of them was interviewed yesterday.
The father or the uncle? Because the uncle has nothing to do with Tyson Fury anymore. So it probably was John.
I thought it was John Fury. Yeah, I thought it was John Fury
because Peter Fury's the uncle.
Right. I thought it was John Fury.
Yeah, so it's John Fury. John Fury's the father.
Yeah, and he said that they were going to gut the entire team. He said he wasn't happy with Ben Davidson's work in there. He wasn't happy with the way his son looked and everything like that.
Whose fault was that? I mean, the guy got cut. I mean, that's not Ben Davidson's fault.
Right. I mean, he was cut. I thought they did a great job controlling the cut. And again, it's a 10-2 fight. 10-3 fight if you're, feeling generous. But 116, 112.
I'm not a big fan of this fire everybody when you lose. It's fucking...
No, I don't believe so either. All right, let's go to the phones here. 443 Baltimore. I believe this is Wood. And I think he wants to talk about Tyson Fury. Wood, you're live. 443, you're live. Then again, maybe you're not. I don't know.
What if that's you? Call back in because we couldn't get a connection.
Yeah, I don't know. There you go. All right. So, next up, Emmanuel Navarrete versus Juan Miguel Elorde for Navarrete's WBO junior featherweight title. Navarrete stopped Elorde in the fourth round. Man, I tell you what, man, Navarrete was just too strong, too sharp.
He's a beast.
And he just fought like a month ago. I mean, literally, like just a month ago, man. I tell you what, and Elorde was good, man. He came in there. He was game. He came to fight. He was just outgunned, man. And Navarrete, man, he just looks more and more impressive every time I see him. He really does.
Let me ask you this, too. Like, again, I love Navarrete. Again, he's an impressive fighter. There's no question about it. But tell me if they were kind of like Bradley was going overboard with, this is what it's about. Navarrete's an old school fighter. He's a throwback. This is what all fighters should be doing. Fighting like this whenever you get the call. Okay, but it wasn't like he was in there with like King Kong or Godzilla or anything. It's like he was just coming off a second round knockout, and he was in there with another guy who was a few levels below him. So I mean, of course it was good that he fought, but it wasn't like he was going in there against a world beater. So you can do that when you're fighting guys who are at the level that his last two opponents are at. But if you can't do that if you're gonna fight, top level guys back to back to back. You can't fight that close.
No.
So it wasn't like it wasn't like they threw him in there with a killer.
No.
So Bradley, Bradley was like, oh, this is what he needs to do, throwback. This is the old school mentality. Like Bradley, I mean, he scored like a second round knockout and a fourth round knockout. Like, what does that tell you? I mean, it's like. Even the old school guys, when they won titles, they would have like non-title bouts in between against, just stay busy fights. Like Chavez Sr. used to do that all the time, go back to Mexico, and he basically had sparring sessions, but they were, real fights, basically. So it's like, nothing wrong with that, but like, again, let's not overstate what it is.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too. I think that but that's the other thing. When you're talking about Bradley again, he's the one that says that Navarrete looked he looked disinterested. He shouldn't have took the fight, or whatever he was saying in there, just nonsense, and saying that he didn't look good and this and that. Come on, man.
Bradley, please.
Come on, man. Like really? That was just I don't know, man. He's just that whole crew has got to go. And I don't know who the crew was for the undercard bouts there. I was listening to them too. They were awful.
Oh, Chris Algieri and Christina Poncha?
Is that who it was?
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, they
Didn't
were
like
awful
them?
too, I thought. No.
No?
I didn't like either one of them.
I like Christina Poncha.
I didn't like her at all. Yeah.
I like
Not
her
a big
voice.
puncher fan. And everybody seems to like her, and that's great. I mean, I'm sure she's a very nice person, but
I have a crush on her.
I know you do. I know you
I
do.
gotta be honest.
Her and who's that other one? Who's that other one you have a crush on, man? Who's the other one? That Lee. What's her name? You know who I'm talking about.
Trying to figure.
Now you gotta act like you don't know her.
Trying to. Is
Now
she?
you're gonna play coy.
Is she like a broadcaster?
No, she's like a. I mean, kind of. I mean, she's like a YouTuber. I think she does like interviews and stuff. Was it? I want to say it's Michelle Lee, but that's wrong. What's her name?
Oh, the Asian lady.
Yeah.
I think she's good, man. I like her.
Helen Yee. That's who it was.
She's good.
Yeah, Helen Yee.
You know who's
Yeah.
good? That girl, the Jimenez girl. That girl that does the what the hell? What is her channel called? The Spanish woman. She wears those tight dresses all the time.
Oh yeah.
She's my gosh, she's a knockout. Oh, she's beautiful.
Yeah, she's all right.
She's like really pretty. That girl.
Yeah, she gets all the good interviews. How about that? It's crazy how that happens,
But she's not bad either. But honestly, I like Helen Yee because I think she asks good questions.
John Doe said Helen Yee's got a boyfriend. It's Schmo and the Pro Guy. I don't know what does that mean.
Is she really? Is that really her boyfriend?
What?
Wow.
Who is that? I mean, who is Schmo and the Pro Guy?
He's another YouTuber.
Oh, really?
This is the Schmo, and I'm here with the Pro.
What do they do?
You never saw that guy before with the glasses?
No. What does he do? I mean, what? No.
He does interviews for boxing, MMA, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He's not bad either. He's kind of like tries to make it like a little bit comedic, but
right.
I still think he asks good questions.
Yeah. Okay. Pheno Boxing. That's the name of Pheno Boxing. That's that one girl.
So
yeah.
She is really beautiful.
Well, we're gonna get her on the show. We're gonna hook you guys up, man.
She's incredible, man.
We're gonna hook you and that chick up, man. How about that?
I'm a lot older than her though. I think she's like in her late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, but you look young.
Yeah.
You're young, 50. You're.
That's true. I'm a grandpa. I was talking to a 25-year-old the other day. I felt so guilty.
You were talking to a 25-year-old the other day.
Jim, yeah. She just started talking to me.
Did you guys talk about cartoons and stuff? What did you guys talk? What did you guys have in common?
We just talked about, working out and stuff.
Did she talk about like chocolate milk, where you were talking about like fine wines and everything?
She asked me if I was married and stuff. Have any kids? I felt like saying to her, why you want one? Wow. This show's out of control today. It's going.
It is. It's nuts today,
going
man.
off
It's
in
nuts
another
today.
direction.
Yeah, we got to get on the caller here. 805. 805. You're live.
Hey guys, what's up? It's me.
Hey, what's up?
Is that Nacho?
Nothing much, guys. As far as the fights this weekend, like I don't know, with Tyson Fury, it just seems like a lot of people are giving Otto Walin a lot more credit than I think he honestly deserves.
Right.
It's like at this point he's being given a lot of credit for just having gone the distance and actually putting up a fight, which to me that's an indictment of how bad he really is as an opponent. Because if you're a world-class opponent, you don't just get a bunch of credit for showing up and going the distance with the guy who's supposed to be the main attraction. Like, that's kind of like just getting credit for showing up. Like, that's ridiculous. And I think for ESPN to go overboard, and giving the guy credit for having gone the distance and trying to make it a competitive fight, I thought it was too much. Like, it was like, oh, come on. Like, you knew what you were bringing into the ring. You were bringing in a guy who was brought in to make Fury look good, and he actually, somewhat messed up their plans by cutting Fury open and actually having to make him work for 12 whole rounds. But don't try to act like the guy is a top 10 contender. He's not a Alexander Povetkin. He's not Joseph Parker, someone of that ilk. This is a guy who, he had fought nobody, and the only exposure he had gotten before this was being on Showbox, and he fought some prospects who nobody even knew on that show either. So I just think it was them going overboard on Fury. I mean, Fury did what he had to do. He won. But now what I'm concerned about is how long is it going to take for that cut on his eye to heal, because that was a nasty cut that he took. So I'm just kind of concerned now that might delay the Wilder fight, because that's not going to heal in a month or two. That might take longer.
Somebody in the chat said it takes, 100 days for it to cut or something like that, or for it to heal?
Probably longer than that.
He's going to have to see a plastic surgeon for that cut. That's not something that's
4 to 6 months to heal completely.
Man, yeah, you're going to have surgery on that. That's not something that's just going to mend on its own, especially when you're getting, hit in the face. I mean, on an average guy, yeah, but when you're getting hit in the face repeatedly, yeah, you have to have something in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's going to need a lot of stitches.
So I don't see this fight happening now in February. They're probably going to have to delay it. So it's kind of disappointing that happened, but this is the risk he took, fighting a guy, so close to the Wilder fight, and now the fight might get delayed because of that. So we'll see.
I think it will get
what
delayed.
Ends up happening with Fury. Yeah, I think so too. And the Navarrete fight. I mean, same thing like Beeb said. He's not fighting a killer. This Elorde dude was being pumped up because he's the great grandson of Flash Elorde. It's like, okay, but he's not fighting Flash Elorde. It's like, what the hell? Like, this guy has nobody on that record. He fought a bunch of patsies to build up that record, and they're acting like he just fought like one of the best fighters in the division. I couldn't believe that. It's like Navarrete did what he had to do, taking out a guy who was being brought in for him to beat, and that's what he did. I mean, come on, like, how much credit do you want to give him for beating basically, a well-groomed opponent for him, And the best fight of the entire card was the Jose Cepeda, Jose Pedraza fight. I mean, I thought that was going to be the best fight from the beginning when they announced this card, and it actually ended up being the best fight of the entire card. And both guys, fought really well. I thought that Cepeda did enough to win that fight. I mean, it could have been what they scored it, 97, 93, but I could have seen it gone 96, 94 for him as well. I think Cepeda should get a shot at somebody at 140. The question is who's going to stick around after the Prograis Taylor fight, because one of those guys is probably going to fight Jose Ramirez to unify at some point. So I'm wondering if he's going to get a shot at one of the big names in the division before they all possibly vacate and move up to welterweight. And then the DAZN card, I'm not even really going to go into it except for a couple of fights in that. Duno was fighting that guy who was completely overweight. I was surprised that they let that fight happen, but I'm assuming they probably must have had him do a second day weigh-in so he wasn't over a certain amount of weight the next day in order for the fight to go on. And I thought Duno struggled in that fight. I honestly expected him to take this guy out, early, like maybe within 5-6 rounds. And the fact that he struggled and that the guy actually put up a fight was really surprising because I honestly thought he was going to take him out. And the fact that his corner ended up pulling him out at the very end of the 7th round was very surprising. I thought the guy was still in the fight, and they just decided to call it a day and pull him out. And I was like, wait, what the hell? Like, that made no sense. But, you know, Juno got the win, and good for him. He keeps his winning streak going. But I would have definitely liked to have seen him fought Ryan Garcia, but that whole saga with Garcia and Golden Boy, like, that's just a divorce waiting to happen. I don't know what they do with that kid. That kid seems to have an ego as huge as, Mount Everest or something. It's ridiculous. Like, he thinks he's a star already, and he wants to get paid for fighting nothing but tomato cans. They offered him to fight against Juno, and he said no. He's like, I'm not taking this guy on 24 hours notice. And I honestly think Garcia would have been able to beat the guy. I mean, I don't understand why they decided not to take the fight. According to everything that's been reported, his team flat out said no. And then they tried to offer Peter Petrov, who's a decent name, and he's a smaller 135er, and they were willing to do that fight at a catchweight as well, and they said no. So I don't see what Golden Boy's going to do with this guy. What do you guys think about that whole situation?
We'll talk about that. We'll definitely talk about that because I've got a take on that as well. But yeah, it's not
right.
good. That's for sure. Not a good situation for either guy, to be honest with you. So yeah. So there you go. Krista Green says that they should
just
stick.
Real quick
Go ahead.
Yeah, just really quick with Munguia. You know, the guy he fought, same thing. Fought another guy who, had no notable wins, and he was being brought in. But to be honest, I think it's going to take a while. If Eric Morales can do anything to help him improve his style, then, it's going to take a few training camps for that to happen, because he looked like the same Jaime Munguia he's always been, just a guy who, once he gets hit, he wants to go to war. And that's what happened last night. And he took out Patrick Alatte, who wasn't on his level. And, same thing, good for him. Hopefully now that he goes up to 160, I'd like to see what kind of opposition they put in front of him moving up to middleweight, since they said this is his last fight. And yeah, that's it, guys. I'll let you guys get to the other callers, because I'm sure there's other people waiting.
All right. Thanks, Nacho. All right. Good deal. All right. Now for this next call, we're going to go to England. This is in the chat. Hamed, you're live.
Yeah. Yes, Eric.
Hey,
Beeb, how's it going?
Good, man. Good.
Yeah, you said England. I was just saying as well. It's okay though.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Fight Doctor, I wanted to hear his perspective on the lineage champion.
I don't know. I didn't. I don't have Fight Doctor's itinerary for today, so I'm not sure where he's at today. So yeah, I don't know.
I was just kidding. I was gonna say, I thought that was a good fight between Fury and Wallen on ESPN. And I'm not too sure. I've seen a lot of people give different breakdowns of the fight. Like, I listened to Michael Montero. I thought he made some good points. I'm not too sure if Fury has lost a step since that 12th round with Wilder, or he just fought down to his level due to the cut as well. Because I think that was a bad cut. I remember when Mayweather got cut against Maidana, he was complaining about the cut. I think that was due to an accidental head clash. But when you've never been cut, or it's a really bad cut, you can get discouraged. And I thought Fury, even though it's only Otto Walin, who I thought gave a good account of himself, it can be discouraging because you basically fight with one eye. But it wasn't the greatest performance from Fury. I thought he changed his game plan and he did well. But he's often fought down to his level, because before the Klitschko fight, I remember him a couple of fights before, he got dropped by Steve Cunningham. And he didn't look that good against him. And then he went to beat Klitschko, and he didn't look that good against Pianetta as well, and then a lot of people thought he beat Wilder. He's often had up and down performances like that. In his biggest fights, he's performed in some of the fights that people thought were cakewalks. He hasn't. So I'm not too sure about like the performance, the whole thing, but I think what ESPN did was a bad job, like trying to, because of the cut was caused by a punch, and the Fury corner didn't know there's a punch that caused it. They kind of interfered with normally what the referee or the commission will decide what's going on. So I thought that was a bad look. I think they were just desperate for the Wilder Fury fight to happen, and I think a lot of money is riding on it. So they wanted a piece of the pie of that, but I don't think commentators and networks should be getting involved in stuff like that. Did you guys catch that part? Or?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, he knew. Listen, man. I think he knew it was from a punch. I don't think he was just. I mean, he's right. I don't like those. I don't like when they go and interview him in the corners anyway during a fight, because it's always done during the round where the guy's watching the fight, giving instruction to his fighter, and then let me go over here and get a quick few words with you. It doesn't make sense to me, and 9 times out of 10, I don't even think they hear what they're saying anyway. You know what I mean? You just go in there and they're going to give you some stock answer or whatever. You're not going to learn anything by interviewing them in the corner. It doesn't work, man.
It's okay in a way, but when you've seen Ben Davidson reacting, like he's completely surprised that it was caused by a punch. Maybe Fury knew what caused the punch, but like to me, you shouldn't be doing that. The commentator, whatever, that's like, I think they kind of filled into what's the word? Like a loophole. I think that needs to be looked into. But I do understand why people don't like that. I think it's okay. Sometimes we shouldn't keep doing it for like after every couple of rounds. I was gonna say I'm not too sure if Fury beats Wallen in the rematch. Before the first fight, I was confident in Fury winning. In this fight, I'm not too sure. Like, I don't know. It's a tough ask to keep Wilder off for 24 rounds or trying to beat him. Maybe he can, but I just got a feeling it'll be maybe a similar fight. And maybe this time Wilder might get the decision. It depends, though. It could go either way. I think Wilder can knock him out as well. If Wilder hits him again, you probably put him down this time. I'm not too sure if Fury's the same after that 12th round. Like, he essentially got knocked out. Like, he was out cold for about 5-6 seconds. So it's tough to tell. But it's good that fight's happening, and I'm looking forward to that fight as well. But that's all I got to say for now. I appreciate you guys taking my call.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Thank you very much for calling. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of them going in the corner. Beeb, what about you? I mean, are you a big fan of that when they go in the corner?
It's distracting. That's like, imagine you doing your job and someone coming over to you and like while you're doing something that's very intense, that requires you to be very focused, and they start asking you questions about things, and it's like, dude, get out of here. I'm trying to get my work done. It's like,
it's
you
just
can
corny.
tell that the trainers, they just kind of feel aggravated and bothered when that happens. I think it's stupid. I don't think it should be done.
Yeah, I think it's corny. I think just in the same way, like when you watch.
They never do that during the UK broadcasts.
When you watch the fights or not the fights, but when you watch a football game, college football or whatever, at halftime, they always got the person out there interviewing the coach at halftime, and he's down 42-0. How do you think your team is doing? Blah, blah, blah. And it's always the same stock questions, and it's always the same stock answers. We have to get better on offense. We have to get better on defense and tighten up the game. I got to go.
We got to tighten up.
What do you want him to say? What do you think? What kind of soundbite really are you looking for when you're in the corner? I mean, like, really, like, what are you looking for? You know what I mean? It's insane to me. So, I don't like it. I never have liked it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've never liked it.
No, not at all, man. Let's see here. All right, so on the undercard of that Fury fight here, We had Jose Pedraza and Jose Zepeda, 10 rounds, junior welterweights. Zepeda wins by unanimous decision, 97-93 on all the cards. Pedraza, he looked good. He just fought a little too defensively in this fight for me. I think Zepeda was the aggressor there, threw more punches, landed more punches, but yeah, man, I thought Zepeda beat him. So, and then we had Carlos Cuadras versus Jose Maria Cardenas, 10 rounds, junior bantamweights. Cuadras wins a majority decision by the scores of 95-95 and 96-94 twice. Beeb, you had a problem with the 95, with the even scorecard from Adelaide Bird.
How could anyone call this fight a draw? I had it 98-92. Okay? I gave Cardenas 2 rounds. I didn't think this fight was close at all.
I didn't think it was that close either, to be honest with you. I was surprised it was a majority.
To have it a draw?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it, dude.
But then we have to kind of bring the other judges into question, too, because they had it 96-94. That's only 1 away from a draw.
I mean, if you want to be generous, you could give Cardenas like 3 rounds, but that's about it. I just don't think this fight was close at all. I really don't. And to have it a draw? That's ridiculous. How does this woman continue to be allowed to score and judge fights? Like this was a clear victory for Cuadras. There's no way this fight was a draw. No way. What did you think of this fight?
I thought Cuadras won it. I thought it was pretty clear that he won it. I didn't think it was that close, to be honest with you. I didn't think it was that close, but yeah. Corey Lee in the chat just says Bird needs to get fired permanently. I agree. Him, her, and her husband, both of them, got to go. They both got to go.
Yeah, she should never be allowed.
No, I don't think so either. So yeah, I'm kind of with you. I thought that Cuadras won that fight pretty handily, but again, man, I don't know. All right, let's switch gears here. Let's go to DAZN. Devin Haney versus Zaur Abdullaev for the interim WBC lightweight championship. Devin Haney stopped Zaur Abdullaev in 4 rounds. The fight was about as one-sided as you'll ever see, man. Haney was hitting this guy with solid right hands all night, jabbing him to death, and Abdullaev would not come out for the 5th. His corner actually thought that his cheekbone may be broken. Listen, man, I know that Haney was supposed to beat this guy. We all knew that. This was, they're not going to put him in with anybody too super dangerous right now. I get that. But he's 12-0 now, and this guy, to me, looks like he's got everything. He's got speed, he's got power, he's got skill. He looks like the next guy. He looks like, when you remember watching Floyd Mayweather come up, or you remember watching these guys come up, this is what the guy looks like. Any thoughts on this?
Again, I'm going to say something very controversial. People talk about this guy being rushed or whatever, but I think next year he'll be ready for a Lomachenko. I'm going to be honest. I put him.
I don't know that he's not ready right now. From what I've seen of this kid,
this is a guy that just has natural talent.
Dangerous, man.
He's just natural talent, and the thing when you watch about him is he's just, you look at his reflexes and you just look at how he does things so effortlessly in there and so instinctively. Like a lot of things that, like, again, talking about a person just being a natural fighter. This kid's a natural fighter. He's definitely a natural fighter, and he can punch too, and he's patient and he's relaxed, and he knows how to just break fighters down, open up, create openings for himself, get his offense going. Like I said, it's not always about what you have in front of you. It's how you deal with what you have in front of you, and he's just a beautiful sight to watch in there. That's all I can say.
He really is, man.
Yeah.
You know, for just being 20, I mean, for just being 20, to go out there and watch him do what he does. And, you know, again, man, I know that he was supposed to beat this guy. I got it, you know. But the way he's been beating people and the way he looks, I mean, people aren't even throwing, you know, they're not even touching this guy. He's not being hit. He's not being, I mean, he just looks great, man.
His reflexes are incredible.
Yeah, I agree. Georgie apparently is not a Devin Haney fan.
Yeah.
Not a Devin Haney fan. But, you know, listen, man, could he beat, listen, I say that tongue in cheek. I mean, could he beat Lomachenko now? I don't think so, but you know what? I don't know. Put it this way, I wouldn't bet either way on the fight. I would stay away from it.
Yeah,
you know, I wouldn't bet either way, man.
Yeah, it's a shot.
He's definitely got a shot. I mean, he fights, and somebody in the chat alluded to it. He fights like a Mayweather. He fights like a Floyd Mayweather did back in the day.
Yeah.
He's hard to hit. He's got power. He's got speed. You can't touch him, man. I mean, he's good. He's a solid fighter. How could you not like this guy? How could you not like this guy?
I think he'll be ready next year. People say he needs more time. The end of next year, both him and Tank will be ready.
Let me tell you what, man. And Centurion said, what about Haney versus Tank? Haney washes Tank. I don't even think, I mean, I think Haney washes Tank right now.
That's a good fight.
Yeah. And does he need more? Does he need more for Loma? Yeah, I think he needs more. But, man, I tell you what, man, that's just, it is. It's pretty insane to watch this guy. Like, you know, like I said, man, when I watched Errol Spence come out of the Olympics into the pros, we knew we had something there. You know, and some guys just appear on the scene, like Terrence Crawford just kind of comes out of nowhere. Adrian Bronner, back when he was trying to come up, just kind of comes out of nowhere. But this guy, you see it, and you look at him and you're like, man, this guy's got it. This guy there's something there, man. He's got it though. You know, there's no two ways about it, man. He is the guy. I think he's going to be the guy in the next few years. He's going to be the next superstar in boxing. I really believe that because he's got all the intangibles. Let's talk about the undercard of this fight here. Amanda Serrano versus Heather Hardy. This is something, man, because this was a big fight in women's boxing. When you think about women's boxing, this is a good fight. This is a big, big fight. Heather Hardy's been around for a long time. Great champion. Amanda Serrano, same deal. It's a co-main. You know, it played to the co-main here. And again, man, I mean, no buzz for this fight at all. No buzz for the fight at all. It's a good fight. Serrano wins by unanimous decision over Hardy by the scores of 98-91 twice and 98-92. Yeah, like I said, man, I was really excited about the fight, but it was one-sided. Was definitely one-sided. But you wonder why like women's boxing isn't as big as it should be, because this fight should have been a lot bigger. This fight should have been a lot bigger, and it just was not promoted. They're in Brooklyn. Both girls are from Brooklyn, and they're still playing co-main to Devin Haney. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I mean, Serrano's is arguably one of the best female boxers.
She's a monster
in boxing right now.
Yeah, she's a monster, man.
She's definitely in the top 3 or 4 at least.
Absolutely. And Krista Green brings up a good point in the chat. She says 2-minute rounds aren't enough to get into a rhythm. And she's 100% right.
I agree 100%. I hate the 2-minute rounds.
You know, Rafael Dawkins says lack of power. I disagree with that. I disagree with it completely, man, because Serrano has some power. But you're taking it, it's got to be 3-minute rounds.
Yeah.
You're not going to get somebody interested in a fight who loves boxing and is a hardcore boxing fan if you got 2-minute rounds. You're just not going to do it.
It's not going to happen.
I don't see 3-minute rounds in the UFC for women. No, they fight 5 minutes. You know, they fight 5-minute rounds just like the guys do.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense, man. next up for Serrano could be Katie Taylor. They had talked about that fight all night. So, which is that's a really, really good fight. That'll play, third fiddle on the card, on some undercard somewhere that, maybe people will watch and maybe people won't. Just depends on how they promote it. Again, a fight like that, Serrano and Taylor should be top billing, but they'll find a way to screw that up. I'm pretty confident of that. Michael Hunter versus Sergey Kuzmin. Heavyweights, Michael Hunter wins a unanimous decision, 117 to 110 on all cards. I wasn't too impressed with Michael Hunter. What are your thoughts on him? I think if he goes against any real heavyweight in the division, he's going to have a problem.
I think his size and his strength are going to be a problem for him. He can box very well, but I just don't see him being able to really control these bigger guys. I think he's going to have a hard time controlling the bigger guys in the division. I just think they hit too hard for him. Yeah. And I don't think he hits hard enough to stop their onslaught and their forward momentum, because there's a lot of big guys in this division that can crack, that are strong, that can muscle you on the inside, that can push you around. And I just don't think he has the dimensions. I mean, at least with Usyk, he can move really well. He can punch a little bit. Like, he's got some power himself. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more layers to Usyk than there is to Michael Hunter, with all due respect. And we saw what happened when they both fought. So they fought each other. You saw the difference. So even though Usyk is undersized too, he has a lot of the other gifts and tools that could be helpful to him, that maybe be able to offset his disadvantages in size and possibly strength. So Hunter doesn't have
much
that.
Bigger toolbox. Yeah,
he's got a much bigger toolbox. So Hunter doesn't have that wide array of tools in his toolbox. So I think that's the problem for him.
Yeah, I think so as well. All right, before we go to the DAZN card, here, 8:04, Corey, you're live.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Ringside Reporter.
What's happening?
What's going on, Corey?
The
How you
Ringside
doing?
Reporter staff. What's happening? Beeb, your boy Tyson Fury. I mean, I'm reading all of these YouTube channels. I mean, they're saying he got exposed. I'm not one of the guys that's saying that. I mean, we don't really know what Otto Walin is as of yet. I mean, he could go out there and blast Chisora tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? We just never know. But the keys to what happened is, some people really think that Otto Walin won. And, I'm going to be honest, I scored it about 8-4, maybe 7-5, you know what I'm saying, for Fury.
I don't think it was...
Wow, really?
I just don't see how...
I think it was at best 9-3. 9-3.
At the very best, I thought.
At the best, that's 9-3, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I had it 8-4, but I just don't see how you can have Otto Walin winning. Or, I've heard even... Shout out to Mr. Boxing today. He had it as close as 6-6, and I'm just like, wow, man,
wow.
Yeah, I'm
wow.
just like, yeah, I'm like, wow, man,
Mr. Boxing today had this fight. He had that fight a draw.
He had it a draw? No.
He said he could see. He said out of his mouth, he said, I can see it being 6-6.
Let's be honest here, man. If you had that fight draw, or you had Wallen winning that fight, come on, man. I think you may have had an agenda going into the scoring, because he got cut.
Yeah.
But that's it. That was it. And if you wanted to give him the third round, the first round, the third round, and the 12th round, that's fine. 8-4 is a little close for me, but a draw or having Wallen winning,
a draw is impossible. It's virtually impossible.
8-4 is generous. I agree. Yeah, with Tone in that chat.
I can't see how you would go more than 9-3, to be perfectly honest.
No.
When I heard the 8-4 scorecard, with no disrespect to you, Corey, but when I heard the 8-4 scorecard from the official judges, I was like, really? Wow. I gave Wallen the first round and the 12th round, and that was about it.
Mm-hmm.
You said Wild Beeb. You said Wild Beeb on 8-4. That could have possibly been a swing round. There was plenty of swing rounds. You didn't see the.
Nah,
You didn't see the
I
first
don't
half
think there
of
was
the fight,
plenty of
Beeb?
swing rounds. Yeah.
I don't think there was a lot of swing rounds.
No.
Maybe one.
The first half of the fight, 1, 2, 6.
No.
Nah, man. Fury clearly won the second round. Even the round he got cut in.
Some people scored the 12th round 10-8.
That wasn't. Stop.
The 12th round 10-8, then they were wrong.
Stop.
If you scored the 12th round 10-8, then you were flat out wrong. There's no way you could score that round.
I've been in chats and I've heard people scoring it, 10-8. I'm not saying I did, but I'm just saying
No, but
people,
And I know the people.
yeah,
I know
but
the people who scored it 10-8 too, and we're not going to get into that.
I'm not talking about trolls. I'm talking about people that watch boxing. I'm not talking about any trolls. I'm talking about real boxing fans.
Are they YouTubers? Are they YouTubers?
Yeah, they're YouTubers. Yeah.
Were they part of a specific group of people that maybe are Deontay Wilder fans?
That I don't know of.
Yeah, I think maybe you do.
yeah, right.
Are they part of a group that has 4 letters?
I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm gonna be honest, Beeb. I don't know. You know me. I don't know. But like I said, I'm not.
Well,
like
I know those channels you're talking
I'm
about.
telling you right
They're the same people that thought Wilder beat Fury too.
Yeah, and that just
I couldn't see that being possible either.
So since we're on that subject, after the Tyson Fury fight, after certain people have it being close or even have Otto Walin winning, where do we go from here? I mean, did Tyson Fury get exposed? How do you guys feel about that?
How did he get exposed though? Because he got cut.
What did he get exposed? So
he won 10 rounds.
The only thing that he got exposed is Tyson Fury's a human being that has flesh and he bleeds.
I'm just reading.
We already knew that.
What people are writing and stuff.
I've seen Tyson Fury get cut over that same eye before. So how did he get exposed? I mean, he bleeds. He's a human being. He bleeds. I mean, what do you expect when you get cut? You bleed. That's what a human being does.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what exposed. I don't get it. I don't get it. You win a fight 10 rounds to 2 and you got exposed.
Saying, man, I'm not saying that he got exposed, but I am saying that it was definitely a competitive fight, and that Otto Walin definitely I think his fight, because we didn't know what he was. We didn't know who Otto Walin was. You know what I mean? I think he showed a good account of himself. You know what I mean?
I think his stock definitely went up. I thought he did a great job.
I mean, he fought hard. He did the best he could.
He wanted to win.
I'm not asking for you guys to agree with me. I'm just telling you guys exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
I think his stock rose.
I think so too.
No, we said that at the beginning of the show that his stock rose. We already said that. So we definitely.
Oh, y'all did? Okay.
Oh yeah, we agree with you there.
About 20 minutes ago.
No, we agree with you on that. That point I agree with you 100% on. I won't dispute that point that you just made at all. I agree with you there.
I just think that Otto Walin he could definitely change some things. I think he could use his range a little bit more, but it's hard to even use range on a guy like Tyson Fury. This is pretty much one of the worst stylistic matchups you can have in the heavyweight division, being that he's long and rangy, but being that he's a southpaw, and being that there's not many good southpaws out there that can box. Otto Walin gives a lot of heavyweights problems. I don't care what you say. Maybe Wilder can get him out of there early, maybe. way. Otto Walin can box. If you can't get him out of there, if you can't get Otto Walin out of there, he can box. That's something that he can do. I give him that. He showed me a lot against Tyson Fury, man. You know? I'm not even going to talk about all the other fights that happened this weekend. Obviously, you got Haney Munguia. You got a slew of other fighters. Golden Boy's in disarray right now. Haney Munguia, won, but he came off of a very controversial decision. I think he should have rematched the guy he fought before this guy and, wrote his wrongs the right way. But he didn't. He fought this guy. And Ryan Garcia just wants out of Golden Boy completely. And I don't blame him. They are completely ruining this guy's career. And this is Corey Lee Boxing, man. And you can check me out on YouTube, man. Eric and Beeb have one of the best channels in boxing, man. I salute you guys. I respect you guys. You guys have a great week.
Oh, thank you so much, Corey.
Respect to you too, brother. You
Absolutely.
You do great work yourself.
Check out and to see Corey's great work. Check out his YouTube channel on Corey Lee Boxing, and he's got interviews up there, man. He does a great job as well. He's got a good stuff over there.
Those Jared Hurd interviews, and him being inside the camp. That's
Jared Hurd interview he
top
did.
Shelf work. That's
was
phenomenal
great.
Work there.
Yeah, it was. It was great. Right after his loss, and to get him to open up like that was good. That was good stuff, man.
That was
good,
outstanding interviewing skills.
Absolutely
right
was.
Being able to get what you got out of that guy after a loss. Incredible.
Joe Lopez, what's wrong with Ramon Alvarez? I like Ramon Alvarez. It's Canelo's brother. Come on. Mexican Independence Day tomorrow, Beeb. Mexican Independence Day is tomorrow, mañana.
I'm not going to burst your bubble, brother. If you like him, you like him. You go ahead and like him.
There it is. Thank you, buddy. See, I knew you would understand.
I'm not here to tell people what to like, what not to like.
That's it.
All I'm here to do is tell you what I like. Right?
That's right. That's right.
If I start making decisions for you, I wouldn't have enough hours in the day to do that, brother. Right? I have enough time figuring out what I want to do.
All right, let's see. Let's go to the DAZN card now. Jaime Munguia versus Patrick Alatte. Munguia knocks out Alatte in the 4th round. This was Munguia's first fight with Eric Morales. And after the win, Munguia said he's going to definitely move up to 160. They said they're going to have a couple of fights there and then perhaps look for a title shot somewhere in the 160 range. Beeb, did Eric Morales make any difference with Jaime Munguia last night?
I painfully have to say 0. I love Eric Morales, and I want him to make a difference because I want to see whatever Eric Morales does. I want to see him be successful at it because I'm a huge Eric Morales fan. Shout out to D-Style Boxing. He's a huge Eric Morales fan too.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, and this is no knock on Eric Morales, it's just you can only work with what you have in front of you. I've always said you can't teach a dog how to climb trees. Doesn't matter who's training them, what type of trainer that you have. You can only, people who are born round don't die square. And Jaime Munguia is who he is.
I would agree.
That's all. I mean, and that's no disrespect to him. I mean, he's a big, strong kid. He can punch a little bit. He's got a lot of heart. He's in phenomenal shape. And for him, you can see how big he is on fight night, right? He looks about bare minimum 168 on fight night, maybe more, right? And I suspect that he probably walks around at about 170, maybe even 175, but at least 170. I'm going to say he walks around that, right? For him to get down to 154, that takes a great deal of discipline, strength, mental strength. Imagine, he's probably losing anywhere from 18 to 20 pounds each training camp. That's horrible. That's horrible. And he's young now, but when he gets older, it's going to catch up with him. It's going to catch up with him without question. So, yeah, I
think the move up is a good move, though.
This is the thing. I said this many times before. You'd rather get beat by a Golovkin or a Canelo than a Paul Hogan. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because it
for
hurts you
sure.
more. It gets you hurt. No disrespect to Paul Hogan either. He's a good fighter, but he's not a Golovkin or a Canelo, right?
Yeah.
So you want you I hate to say this, and I don't want to sound negative, but he's gonna lose eventually.
Yeah.
And when that does happen, you'd rather it be against a top level guy, where you're getting paid good money, as opposed to fighting someone that's not at the tippity top of a division, and you're not gonna get paid well to fight that person. So you'd rather lose in a marquee fight against a marquee fighter than lose against just a solid fighter with a decent payday. So
I would agree with that. Dwayne M says, "Am I wrong for thinking Jaime Munguia is protected and a C plus, maybe B minus level fighter at best?" Listen, man, he's a world champion. I don't think we can really call him a C level fighter.
no.
Is he an A B fighter? Yeah, I think so. He's an A or B fighter, but I don't think he's a C level fighter. I mean, listen, man, what does he have? 4 defenses now? Is that about 4 defenses of the title?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
He's
man.
defended that title a few times.
Yeah. Salute to Beeb. Thank you so much, Nelson Santos. He said, salute to Beeb and Mr. Pragmatic. Are you people making more of Fury's performance than they should? Did Fury simply fight to the level of his competition? No, I think that, again, I don't, this was a typical, to me, and maybe I'm wrong, this was a typical Fury fight to me.
Yeah, I mean,
it was just a typical, if you've watched Fury in the past,
correct.
Did you expect a knockdown, drag out type of fight? No, this was, to me, it was a typical Fury fight. This was a 10-2 fight, 9-3 if you want to get generous. But yeah, I mean, this was I didn't see anything, people talk about he was exposed. I mean, he fought with like I said, he fought with the cut from the 3rd round on. I mean, I thought he did a great job with it. I thought the cut man did a great job. Somebody had alluded to it earlier in the podcast that it was the cut man was a real MVP. And you know what? Hey, I don't disagree with that, but this was a typical Fury fight to me.
He suffered some bad luck. Got cut. The cut doesn't happen. We're not having these conversations right now. We're just not. He just suffered some bad luck. That's it.
That's all. That's all it was.
And that's not to take anything away from Wallen. Like, Wallen did do better than what was expected.
Mm-hmm.
But not much was expected. So it wasn't, with all due respect, it wasn't hard to do better than what was expected if not much was expected.
We expected Tom Schwartz.
We expected Tom Schwartz.
That's what we expected.
So anything better than Tom Schwartz was a step up. But let's not get carried away one way or the other.
Yeah. No, Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it was just, like I said, I mean, it was more competitive than you thought because it wasn't Tom Schwartz, So there you go.
If he did what he did against anybody else in the top 5,
right,
we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Not at all. Not at all.
My opinion.
All right, so let's talk about our train wreck of the week this week. Avery Sparrow versus Ryan Garcia.
Oh my God. What a mess this turned into.
This was really messed up. So, see if we can follow this here. Avery Sparrow and Ryan Garcia were supposed to fight on Saturday on the undercard of Munguia and Alatte. All right. Sparrow was arrested on Friday. So, obviously, he was, unable to fight Ryan Garcia because, he's in jail. That being said, police were apparently looking for Sparrow as early as Wednesday. All right. And there is no way Golden Boy did not know about this. Because, Beeb, if I'm looking for you, if I'm a cop and I'm looking for you, don't I go to your employer first and say, hey, maybe he showed up at the job. Maybe his employer knows where he is. So there's no way Golden Boy did not know about this.
No, we knew.
Apparently, they said there was some deal in place. If I read correctly, there was some kind of deal in place where they said Sparrow could fight, and they were supposed to let him fight, but then they didn't let him fight. It was all convoluted. The bottom line is, obviously, Sparrow didn't fight. because he was in jail. After all of that, Golden Boy then goes online and trashes Ryan Garcia via social media, saying he didn't want to fight the opponent they came up with less than 24 hours before the fight time. Garcia and his people claim they wanted the fight, but only wanted a little bit more compensation. And you know what? I can't say as I blame him. You want me to, to go on this fight? I mean, pay me a little bit more. I don't know anything about the guy coming in or who you want to fight. Like you said, they had Petrov, they had Duno or whatever. Pay him a little bit more. I don't see a problem with that. I mean, and they even said, they interviewed him and his lawyer, and I think you saw it as well. You're the one who sent it to me. So they interviewed Garcia and his lawyer, or I guess his manager or whoever it was, and he says, we were asking for a little bit more. Wasn't even much. It wasn't like $1 million. It wasn't like, whatever. A little bit more to be compensated. And they said no. And Golden Boy came out and said no, and then trashed him, came out. Eric Gomez said that Ryan Garcia didn't want to fight. He didn't want to fight the guy and this and that. And
it was too tough.
Yeah. And then he came back out. Garcia, Eric Gomez came back out and says, well, no. He says, I said, I didn't say anything about Ryan turning down the fight, but his team turned down the fight, this and that, and just try to do that kind of thing. Listen, man, I don't promote for a living, but I think it's probably a bad practice to trash a fighter that you promote publicly. You know what I mean? Can you imagine, like I said, and everybody has their differences with PBC, good, bad. But what I can definitely say about PBC is they're a professional organization. They seem to me to be a very professional organization. Could you imagine them trashing anybody publicly, or Al Heyman coming out and trashing somebody?
Even when fighters leave them and fighters aren't with them,
right?
They still say, like with Daniel, they still said good things about Daniel Jacobs, even though he doesn't fight on their cards anymore. So
yeah.
This is the thing. This reminds me of like politicians, how they make like negative ads against each other. It's almost like Golden Boy created a negative ad against themselves. And this was like advertisement to all the young fighters out there that are looking for promoters. If you're looking for a promoter, don't sign with us because we'll throw you under the bus the first chance we get. So they basically sabotage themselves. Any young fighter out there that's going to be looking at something like this will never sign with Golden Boy now.
No.
And here's the thing. Ryan Garcia is the future. Okay? He's the future. After Canelo, who else do they have? So they gotta start looking for someone to, be their main guy after Canelo. And I thought this kid was it. And now they do this. They treat him like this. And now Garcia's come out and said, you know what? They put me on the spot before. They've played around with me last minute, switching up opponents, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And they put my back up against the wall on several occasions, and they just figured as though, on the 13th hour, there's nothing I can do but say yes. So he just felt like he was being manipulated, I guess. He felt like he was being manipulated. He felt like he was being taken for granted. He felt like he was being disrespected. That's the bottom line. At the end of the day, the big thing here was he felt like he was being disrespected, and he didn't want to be disrespected anymore. So he stood his ground. He said, I'm not fighting.
And you know what? I don't blame him.
And let me tell you this.
I don't blame him.
And let me tell you this. There was a contract to fight Avery Sparrow. Okay?
He should get paid. Because he
stepped on the scale and he made weight. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Avery Sparrow did not. So the Golden Boy is dumb, stupid now, in my opinion, because now they have to pay the guy for not even fighting.
I was going to say, aren't they required to pay him?
Yeah, I think they have to pay him because he followed the contract.
He followed the contract. He showed up and he made weight. The other guy didn't follow it.
The other guy didn't follow it. He followed his end of the bargain. They go to court. He's going to get paid.
Yeah.
He's getting paid.
That's the thing, man. I mean, like he
followed him.
He
even said that. He said they got to pay me, and if we have a problem, then we'll have to handle it.
And you know what the worst part is? He showed up to that weigh-in. All right, he showed up to the weigh-in. He had no idea where Sparrow was. He said he had no idea where Sparrow was. Now, whether he did or didn't, maybe it was gamesmanship, showmanship, whatever. But I know he didn't know who he was fighting on Saturday. He just showed up and he made weight. That's all he did.
But here's the thing, Eric. They tried to trap the kid.
Tried
to trap the kid because they're saying to them, they allowed him to just go in there and do the weigh-in and whatever and not tell him anything. So then I suspect, in my opinion, and again, this is my opinion, then they felt as though, well, you know what, you weighed in, everyone saw you weigh in, everyone's hyped up to see you fight. You can't let the fans down. This is a bad look if you don't go through it with the fight now. Let's just throw a replacement opponent in there. You save the show, Ryan. Be the hero of the day, man. Don't let your people down.
Yeah.
So they figured they could box the kid in with that. That's why they allowed him to go on, weigh in and all that and go through all the motions without telling him anything, because now they felt as though, everyone saw you weigh in, everyone's excited for you now, you had everyone cheering you, all your fans showed up, you can't let your fans down. This was all calculated, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's why they had him go out there and weigh in and everything like that, and
yeah, so all calculated, in my opinion, because then they're saying, so, oh, you took it this far, Ryan. You what are you going to turn around and walk away now? You can't do that, Ryan.
And you know what? They got a history of doing this.
To him.
They've got a history of doing this, period. Look at what they do with Saddam Ali. Remember Saddam Ali?
Yeah.
He came out, Olympic caliber fighter. I mean, sharp as a tack, man. He comes out there and he re-ups with them. When Heyman and everybody else, when the PBC was getting big, he re-upped with them. And he probably could have got a bigger deal with PBC or wherever. He re-upped with Golden Boy. All right?
That was dumb.
So what do? They put him in there, and then they put him against Munguia. One of his first title against Munguia. They knew Munguia was going to take that guy out.
They switched that up on him. How many weeks did they give him notice on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's insane.
Who was he supposed to fight instead of Munguia? He was supposed to fight someone else.
I can't remember who it was.
Wasn't he supposed to fight Liam? He was supposed to fight Liam Smith.
It was definitely an easier fight than Munguia, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it was Liam Smith, the guy that Munguia knocked out. He was supposed to fight Liam Smith, and then Liam Smith, something happened to Liam Smith.
Right.
And then they threw him in there with Munguia as a replacement opponent.
Yeah, I mean, and they've just done this, and they've done fighters wrong.
And
even Canelo,
I mean, they didn't give him a bump in pay either.
No, and even Canelo,
much tougher fight.
We've all heard rumblings. I mean, and you and I have both heard the rumblings with Canelo, and Golden Boy and everything, and they're on thin ice, man. I think they are on thin ice, and I think once, obviously Garcia's under contract, I think he probably would have been gone yesterday. If once that contract is up, I can't see Garcia staying.
No,
I think he goes to Top Rank or something like that.
How many fights are left on that contract? You know?
I don't know. That I couldn't tell you. But
it's crazy, bro.
It's awful. It's awful the way they treat those guys, man. It really is. Canelo's kind of the cash cow and everything, but you kind of wonder, like, some of those fights they're putting on and stuff like that. I mean, we see them. I mean, some of those fights are just like, those cards that they're putting on are just like unwatchable. I mean, you remember the Tuesday night fights and everything like that, and everybody used to complain about, at least they had good fighters on there, or the ESPN Friday night fights. I remember those were like, those were like a lot of C-level fighters coming up and up-and-comers and everything, and sometimes you had good fights, sometimes you didn't. But Golden Boys are much worse, I think. I thought the ESPN cards were much better than that. I didn't really care for those.
No, I agree.
So, I don't know, man. That ain't good, man. That ain't good at all for Golden Boy. All right, let's go to area code 508. 508, Georgie. You're live.
Hey, yo! What's happening, people? Cracky lacking with all these fucking fights that nobody's watching. Who was watching Fury when those numbers coming out, putting everybody in the spotlight? And what's up with that fucking Ortiz versus Wilder too?
I don't know.
Supposed to be taking a pie because that shit's not happening. You don't know now, huh?
I'm not taking a pie, I'll tell you that.
Don't take.
What's up, Georgie?
I'm not taking a pie.
The Mexican Council called. They want your heritage back. win it back from you. You got to mail it back to Mexico, baby.
No way, buddy.
Hey, yo, everybody out there on the chatty, salute, thumbs up. Support the real, man. Support the real. Ringside reporter. Now, yo, but all bullshit to the side. These people really fighting or not?
Who? Wilder and Ortiz? Supposed to be fight. I heard they were fighting in October, but I don't know what the holdup is.
I thought it was November.
Was it November then?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the holdup is.
But
Could be November, but I mean,
I told you my conspiracy theory. Listen, I told you already. I think I told Team Ortiz, listen, don't fight AJ. The 7.5 million, whatever it was that Eddie offered you, we can match it. Just wait a little longer. Where the fuck is Ortiz? How come you don't see no Ortiz interviews about the matter? Like everything's so silent. I mean, did that fight didn't got signed allegedly? I think that Wilder said that got signed before even the first time AJ versus Ruiz, the Wilder Ortiz that got signed before AJ fight with Ruiz.
I think so. Yeah, it did. It did.
It did. So I mean, come on, man. This is fuckery. Fuckery. This shit gotta be in the fucking spotlight too.
But here's
we
the
all
thing.
know Eddie's a demon, evil genius. Yo, you know what Eddie said? I was watching an interview on YouTube the other day, and they asked Ruiz, listen, how they treat women down there. And Ruiz is like, well, I see a lot of them on the plane. Oh yeah, how they were like? And he's like, well, yeah, they were from England, they were from London. Fucking Eddie throwing pussy at fucking Ruiz just to getting out of fucking focus. You gotta love Eddie Hearn, bro. That motherfucker will do anything. Amazing. How low can you go? These mafias, bro. Listen.
What are you talking about, son?
Ben telling you
serious,
about.
bro.
Ben telling you about, dude. You don't want to listen. Ben telling you about, dude. You don't want to listen.
Oh man. Eddie, yo, listen. Shout out to Eddie, yo. Shout out to the UK. We here. Shout out to Ralphie on the chat. Everybody on the chat. Salute. Listen. Let's talk about these fucking belts, man. So, if Canelo fight Kovalev, right? You guys got Canelo packed down, huh? You guys say Canelo gonna beat him, right?
Canelo's gonna walk right through him. Yeah.
Listen, Kovalev, he looked like shit last time around. He didn't look that good. But he still got like a fire 2 left. He still got like a couple more fights. And I don't like Kovalev. I think he's a woman beater. That motherfucker got too many scandals about putting hands on women, grabbing women, and he going, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I mean, he does have a lot.
Why he got skills. So I think he can pull it out, though. I think Kobe still got another fight. So if you guys got Canelo, I'm going double pie bet on you guys.
Whoa. You think that Kovalev's going to win?
D-Style's picking Kovalev.
Yeah.
Oh, son, you're on. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I think if we lose, gonna be close. If we lose, a robbery, because you know how it is. Canelo got all the
Son,
advantage.
come on.
D-Style's picking Kovalev too, Eric.
I don't care who's picking Kovalev. Listen, I don't care who's picking Kovalev.
I'm not picking Kovalev.
No.
Listen, Canelo.
Anybody's
Canelo
on. I will take that all
160.
night. Take that bet all day. You're on. Pie bet. You're on.
Wow. Real confidence, buddy. Real confident. Really
He's ready
brave
for
of
you,
you.
George.
Really brave.
He's ready.
But
Yeah.
you're gonna bite the dust. Listen, I don't have
Wow.
to say, people, it ain't much shit going on. But shout out to fucking Puerto Rico, New Yorkers. Hueva! Amanda, Team Amanda, representing. Yo, how many belts she got so far? She's like, what, 2, 3, 4 division champ?
Yo, she's got crazy belts. Yo, she came down from 140 to fight at 115. That's like crazy. And then after that, she went back up to featherweight. I don't know how the hell she does
You
it.
talking about the Serrano?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
She's like,
she's a joke, but she's making it happen. That's what we need. We got to support. Even that we old hardcores, we don't appreciate these 2-round fights. Because, I mean, you really need a 3 rounds, like you guys say, because that would test your endurance. It will test a lot. It's not the same. It's not the same. And, shout out to the women's out there. Shout out to the UK, USA, the world. I got to go. I'm out.
All right,
he's
Georgie.
picking Kovalev, Eric.
He's crazy, son.
How do you get these easy matchups? It's crazy. Like people.
I'm the champ, son.
You get people to pick these underdogs from hell. Oh my God, man.
That's a walkover fight. I'll be honest with you, man. I'm not even sure Kovalev sees the final bell in that fight.
No, he doesn't.
I don't think so. I think
No
Canelo
way.
is going to tear that body apart.
Oh, he's gonna get knocked out in 9 rounds, bro.
Yeah, that fight doesn't see daylight, man. There ain't no way. He's getting murked, son.
He's gonna get destroyed.
Let's face it. I mean, let's just be honest here.
Yeah,
You remember? All right. You remember the book that we reviewed the one time? And in the book, it had a section on fight fixing. Okay, and it said that 90% of the fights are fixed, but not fixed like you and I think. Like where we're paying judges off and mafia's behind it, or whatever. We're paying judges off and all that other good stuff. No, they're fixed by the matchmakers, because when we make a fight, they're going to be everything is going to be edged in our favor. If Golden Boy is making a fight, they're going to know they're not going to put a 50-50 fight out there. They want their guy to win, so they're going to give him the edge no matter which way they go. They're going to give you the edge, and that's what that was meant in that chapter about fight fixing. And this is, to me, this is kind of a classic example of that, because would you think that he would go up against any killers up there? I mean,
He's not fighting Bivol.
he's right. I mean, could you see him going up and fighting Bivol? He ain't going up there and fighting Beterbiev, Bivol, anybody.
He's not fighting.
He ain't fighting any of those
Beterbiev,
guys. No. Why? Because they're monsters. Because they're killers, man. And they're 2 weight classes above my little guy. That's why. Kovalev, well, we know a lot about Kovalev. We know he doesn't like it in the body. We know that's Canelo's specialty. We also know that he's slow. He's on the dark side of his career. It is what it is, man. It just is, man. All right, let's talk about the fights coming up here. September 19th. I believe that's Thursday, but I don't know. Orlando on DAZN from Florence, Italy. Orlando, and I'm going to butcher his name, but hey, man, it is what it is. Fiordigilio versus Sam Eggington, 10 rounds, junior middleweights. I like watching Sam Eggington fight, man.
Yeah, he's solid.
He is, man, but
I'll
is
watch
he?
that card too.
Yeah, is he past his prime though? I mean, he's been in some big fights.
You got to match him accordingly.
He's a good fighter though. I enjoy watching Sam Eggington fight. He's one of those guys. He's like a Ramon Alvarez. He's one of those guys. Yes, he is. He's one of those guys that always brings it. He's one of those guys that always brings it.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair.
No, I don't mean like style wise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sorry. I get what you say. I was gonna fall out of my chair any minute after you comparing him to Ramon Alvarez in terms of how they fight.
Oh man, look at you dogging Ramon Alvarez out, man. That's messed up. September 20th from Midland, Texas, on Showtime. Michael Dutchover versus Thomas Matisse, 10 rounds lightweights. Ruben Villa versus Enrique Vivas, 10 rounds featherweights. Brandon Lee versus Milton Ramirez, 8 rounds welterweights. This is a showbox card, I'm sure. Showtime, where have their fights been? Really, I mean, they haven't had anything on.
Showtime fight since wow. What was the last Showtime fight we saw?
I don't know, man. I might cancel my subscription because they got nothing going on, man.
It was Landy Lara, his fight, wasn't it? Who did he fight?
Was it? Was that on Showtime?
Fox? Who was the fight that Landy Lara? Well, the last fight, Ursulani Lara lost. He lost to someone else too, didn't he? Oh no, it was a draw. I'm trying to remember the
I don't
fight.
know.
It was a draw. And then his last fight against Ramon Alvarez was on Fox Sports 1.
Yeah.
No, Fox. It was on Fox. Right?
Fox has been taking all of them away. I mean, yeah. I don't know what Steven Espinoza can't be too happy with that whole Fox deal, but is what it is. September 20th in Las Vegas, Mayweather Promotions on Facebook. So I'm sure you can go to Mayweather Promotions on Facebook and they'll have these fights live. Lionel Thompson versus Scott Sigmund, 10 rounds light heavyweights. Cameron Crail versus Gabriel DeLuc, 10 rounds welterweights. So some up-and-comers there.
I think it was Brian Castano in March. That fight, I think was on Showtime. But there's Landy Lara. The fight was a draw, but Castano won that fight, I thought.
Yeah, I think I remember that one, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the last Showtime fight, and that was in March.
Yeah.
Wow. There could be other Showbox. There could be other Showbox cards that I can't remember, but the last.
Yeah, the Showbox cards, and I mean those are like hit or miss for me. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
September 21st from Bakersfield, California on Fox Sports 1. Peter Quillen versus Alfredo Angulo, 12 rounds super middleweights. Chris Colbert versus Miguel Beltran Jr., 10 rounds lightweights. Thomas Delorme versus Terrell Williams, 10 rounds welterweights. Gary Antonio Russell is taking on the dreaded TBA, 10 rounds bantamweights. Jonathan Esquivel is also on the undercard versus Justin Steve. Let's see here. They've got about 20 people. Gary Antoine Russell is actually on that card as well against TBA. They've got about 20 and I've been mentioning PBC quite a bit during this podcast today. If you guys get a chance to ever go to a PBC card or anything like that, make sure you do so, because from the time you sit down there till the time you leave, it is constant action. I mean, it really is. It's constant. I mean, they've got a ton of fights on there. It's really cool. So there you go. Also on September 21st, Saturday, Mexicali, Mexico, on Facebook Watch, Joseph Diaz Jr. versus Jesus Cuadro, 10 rounds junior lightweights, excuse me. And I think that's it for this week. Next week, Daniel Dubois fights. Let's see here. Let's see. Yep. Yeah, Daniel Dubois fights, and then after that, next week we'll be reviewing the Errol Spence Sean Porter fight as well. What do you think, real quickly, what do you think of the Fox card, the Peter Quillen Alfredo Angulo fight? I mean, they're trying to reestablish, I think, Peter Quillen here, but what are your thoughts on that fight?
Has Alfredo Angulo ever fought at 168 before?
I don't know.
I think Quillen's gonna destroy Alfredo Angulo.
He should.
Should be interesting though while it lasts.
Yeah, Angulo's he's a tough guy. He's a tough fighter, but
won't last long.
No, I mean Peter Quillen's got some skill, man. He's pretty good. Yeah, he can fight a little bit. Quillen can fight a little bit. All right, let's see what we got here. 706, you're live.
What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, man?
You fucking hung up on me last week, you little bitch.
I didn't hang up on you last week.
You turned off Blog Talk system. But anyway, thanks for giving PBC a shout out, man. I was going to mention Spence vs. Porter has 15 fights, so I think you should read up that lineup too next week, I guess. So, that would be cool. 15 fights on one card. Nobody does that. Like,
it's insane.
Top might have like 7 or 8 fights.
Yeah, they got a lot of fights on
there. They don't get any fucking credit. Like what you just said, and to people do if they want to go to a fight, go to a PBC event. Like you don't hear writers say shit like that. I just I found my Twitter account got suspended, and my new account is Heyman W on Twitter, and I just got back today. Mm-hmm. And the tank was at the Ravens fucking stadium, 70,000 people cheering for him. And I tweet Kevin Ali. I'm like, Kevin, don't you think you should tweet this out? And he fucking blocked me 5 minutes later. I'm like, what? These guys are fucking little bitches. like, if fucking Tank was with some Golden Boy top rank, all these fucking writers were tweeting that shit out. Like 70,000 people are screaming for Tank in Baltimore. If he was with DAZN, Chris Mannix, all these fucking clowns would be tweeting it out, and I don't see any reporter. All these person that tweeted it out was Mike Coppinger. That's it. You know, they don't give a shit about PBC. Man. They just want PBC to go away and fail because Al Heyman doesn't really give them any access. Bob and Eddie, they'll fucking smooth with the fucking media, give them interviews. I guess that's the main dilemma there. But what did you guys talk about Ryan Garcia's debacle with Golden Boy today?
Yeah, we sure did.
I haven't listened to the whole show.
Yeah, we sure did. We just talked about it.
Did you watch that sit-down deposition type interview with his mom and dad around the table? Did you watch that?
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
we both saw that.
That was awesome, dude.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're really
his mom called him out.
They're really giving him the shaft over there. I really think so, man.
She made some good points. She said Golden Boy's got a lot of fighters. None of them are as big as Ryan, so it's not Golden Boy building him. He built his own social media following. She's got a point, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Haney's not as popular as Ryan Garcia. He's making $500,000 a fight. Ryan's making like $100K or $50K for his last fight. So, I mean, I'd be pissed too. I'm glad he's got a good lawyer now so he can fucking get out of that contract, but he might have to sit out like a year or two like Mikey did. Sometimes that's what happens if a promoter doesn't want to let you go. You know?
Yeah.
Also, what do you guys think? What about Wilder Ortiz? When is that getting finalized? I hope he doesn't even do that. I think you should just fight fucking Otto Walin and knock him out. He'll probably get more fucking points for that. Otto Walin get a name for it last night. Would you mind that fight if Wilder said, "I want to fight Otto Walin next"?
I wouldn't mind that. No, I wouldn't mind that. I think everybody wants to see Otto Walin fight next. I mean, you know.
Otto Walin looks like shit, dude. I mean, I just think Fury's kind of overrated, and Wilder let him off the hook, you know? I thought look kind of shitty. They were like wobbly.
Why wouldn't you want to see Otto Walin fight next?
I want to see Wilder knock him out because I know he will, like around 4 or 5 rounds. That's it. Like just like he did with Washington, you know.
Do you think Otto Walin beats Wilder?
And also,
Beeb?
did you guys notice all night long? Go ahead. Dude, did you guys notice all night long? Fucking Tessitore is calling Fury the champ. And
the lineal champ, yeah.
Ward is just sitting up with his thumb up his ass. That's fucked up, dude.
I told you at the beginning of the show, man, that broadcast team needs to be gutted, son. They need to get everybody out, with the exception of Andre Ward.
They gave him a belt after the fight. How crazy is that?
There was the Mayan belt they gave him. That was the WBC Mayan belt. That was the Cinco.
Was that ridiculous?
Yeah, that Mayan belt or whatever. That was the, you know. It's insane.
Did you guys watch the fight camp? Oh, Eric, I was going to ask you, did you see Booker T on BBC, inside BBC? Dude?
I did. That was awesome.
No, I heard about it, though. I heard he was on.
That was awesome.
Go to the BBC Twitter page, dude. He fucking, dude, he slammed Mark Ortega that right around the fucking table in the back. It was kind of awesome.
Oh, it's hilarious.
You know who Mark Ortega is?
Mark Ortega. Dude,
but he was name-dropping people, dude. Dude, Booker T said no offense to Dominic Brazil because Dominic Brazil was in studio. He said Wilder's my favorite fighter. And he looked at Dominic. He said no offense. Dominic was sitting right there. That's crazy. I think Fox should invite him to guest commentator fight. That'd be epic. That's how you fucking cross-promote, you know? That'd be awesome.
That's insane. All right, man.
Yeah, watch it. You kicked it, man. You're old fucking. Come on, dude. Watch it. Retweet it, too.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
All right, guys.
All right, man. Jason coming with the heat this week. He's insane. Just insane. Hey, one more fight we didn't talk about. It was on Fight TV. Carlos Takam was on pay-per-view. Carlos Takam versus Craig Lewis, 10 rounds heavyweights. Carlos Takam wins a unanimous decision over Craig Lewis by the scores of 99-91 twice and 96-94. You know, we were just talking about that, Beeb, about the judging and everything like that, and about how it's, you know, just crazy. I mean, how about that? The scores there. 99, you know, we got 99-91 twice and 96-94. Come on.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
It's weird how the scoring is just so. You have such different scorecards from the judges. Like, how can one judge see something entirely different than the other?
Right.
It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre when you see that.
I don't get it. But hey, that's just me. All right, let's see what else. All right, so our news and rumors here, man. Canelo versus Kovalev, as we talked about earlier, is set for November 2nd. The fight will take place at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. The fight will be at 175, no catch weight, for Kovalev's WBO title. Canelo will be jumping up 2 weight classes to fight him. Beeb, let me ask you, somebody, I read this the other day, or read this yesterday, maybe it was. Is this fight comparable to Leonard going and fighting Donnie Lalonde?
Yes.
I think so too.
Yes.
I think so too. Do you think Kovalev is? I think Kovalev is more dangerous than Donnie Lalonde. Maybe. I don't know.
I agree. No catch weight.
But you know, I mean, this is definitely a winnable fight. This is not a high risk fight for Canelo. Do you think it's a high risk fight for Canelo?
No, I don't see it as such.
I think this is very low risk. I think this is very low risk, very high reward, because Sergey Kovalev, everybody knows who Sergey Kovalev is. He's he's a big deal, as far as boxing goes in the boxing circles. He's a big name, but man, I tell you what, I just don't see any way he wins this fight. I mean, I don't see any way at all. So, yeah. Now, it was rumored that if Kovalev wins, all right, if Kovalev somehow pulls off a miracle and beats Canelo, that he signed a 3-fight deal with DAZN. All right. That's not true. Bob Arum has said that if Kovalev wins, he comes back to ESPN. There is no deal in place for Kovalev to fight on DAZN. It's a one and done thing. He said Kovalev is also reported to make around $8 or $9 million for the fight. They said that Kovalev got $12 million. Okay, Kovalev was supposedly getting $12 to $13 million, but after that he gets his cut. Top Rank gets a cut. Main Events gets a cut, and then I guess by the time it's all said and done, he should get around $8 or $9 million. So there you go. Let's see here. Did you watch the Derek Chisora press conference?
Yes.
What in the world? Derek Chisora, man, acted like a giant baby at the presser this week, and he was actually up for train wreck of the week until Ryan Sparrow and Golden Boy came up. They announced the card with Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor for the Ali Trophy for the finals. Chisora will be the co-main event with Joseph Parker. He said he wants to headline or he doesn't fight. He said that the guys, Prograis and Taylor, are riding his coattails and taking his fans, and that him and Joseph Parker would sell out the O2 on their own without his help. Beeb, any merit to that? Do you think first of all, do you think that him and Joseph Parker would sell out that venue?
Well, Chisora is kind of popular over there. It's possible, but when you look at his fight with Parker, and you look at this fight between Prograis and Taylor, I think you have to look at it from basically the perspective of what about worldwide interests? Like, it's a much bigger fight worldwide, the Prograis Taylor fight. Like, more people are interested in that fight than Chisora's fight. So Chisora's fight is big there, but the Prograis Taylor fight's big all over.
Yeah.
So that's why the Prograis Taylor fight, I think, would trump the Chisora fight. Now, Chisora has done very well over there. He has headlined over there and done very well. But D-Style made a good point, and he's been on the undercard of a lot of fights where the main event were like lower weight class fights, if you do the history. So, this is nothing new. I mean, it's not like he hasn't really headlined since the Dillian White fight. And Dillian White is much more popular than him. So it's not like he headlines without having when he headlines, he's usually the B-side. To be fair, I've never seen him headline as the A side.
No, never.
Never. So I don't understand, what his beef is.
I don't either. I don't either, and I don't. I mean, I guess he's trying to. I don't know if he's just trying to sell tickets or what he's doing, but
I think he's trying to get more money, which I have no problem with. So if that, because you heard what he said. Well, if you're not going to make me the main event, which he knows he's not going to be made the main event. What was the very next sentence after that?
Want more money?
Give me more money.
Give me more money. That's what it's
Isn't that
about.
how it always works? Isn't that what Ruiz was doing too?
And listen, I mean, I think they can get another heavyweight to replace Derek Chisora.
Yeah.
Why not? I don't think that's a huge ask.
Do Dillian White versus Joseph Parker rematch.
Yeah, there you go. Anything, man. Juan Francisco Estrada versus Cal Yafai is now possible for December 14th, we're hearing. So that's pretty logical. That's where both guys were going. Let's see here. Yeah, let me find it. Okay, yeah. So Jerry Esquivel said that he said a miracle, talking about Canelo. My comment of Canelo beating Kovalev. He said a miracle. Canelo, who started at 147, fighting a man who has fought at 175 his entire career, and it's a miracle that Kovalev wins. Wow. Listen, he's not going to win, guys. It's that simple. Again, they picked him for a reason. They're not fighting Bivol. They're not fighting Vosdick. They're fighting Kovalev. Why? Because they know he's vulnerable. Because he's on the dark side of his career. There's 100% no way he wins. That's why they picked him. I'm telling you. They're smart over there. They're good matchmakers. Chisora saying they want the BBC instead of the small fighters. Chisora, I tell you, yeah, I mean, I think that, listen, man, I think the Josh Taylor fight is a bigger fight than Chisora Parker.
100%.
So, yeah, I mean,
about that fight.
I could care less about that fight. I mean, I'm going to watch it, but it's not like it's like I would go out of my way to, no way. I mean, they're definitely the headliners, man. No question about it, man. No question. Let's see here. Anything else? I think that's it. I think we covered everything, Beeb.
Yeah.
Beeb, that's the news, baby.
That's it, brother.
That's what we got here. All right. That'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at JHabib1 and find our YouTube channel at ringsidereporterlive.com. I'm at Ringside73, and we will see you next week.